America will be electing its next president of the United States on November 5th. There are chances that this election is going to go down the wire, and it will be too close to call. Now, there are about 30 million voters who've already cast their ballot. And what we wanted to do is to take you to one of those election centers, early voting centers here in America, where you can see people come in and casting their votes. About 15 million people have been called as early voters, and the other 15 million who've cast their ballots have done that through mail-in ballots. So what we'll try to do today is show you what an election center looks like. We'll try to talk to the Democrats who are trying to convince voters to vote for their candidate. They've been set up on one side of the election center. On the other side, we've got Republicans, who've set up their booth, and they're trying to convince voters to vote for their candidate. We'll try to talk to them. We'll try to talk to some of the voters, coming out of the polling, and try to see, engage from them, who they are voting for in this election. And we'll also show you what a ballot looks like. And this right now, I mean, we're moving away from the Democratic camp towards the Republican booth. And look, this is why it is so cool. You've got the Republican booth right here, and then there's the election center right in the middle, where people are going in, coming out, casting their ballots. And on the other side, you've got the Democrats and their booth setup, trying to convince voters who walk in and asking them if they would want a sample ballot for Democrats, to vote for their preferred candidate in this election. So let's try to walk over and speak to some of the Republican side and some of the Republican voters who are stopping at the booth for Republicans, and try to see if we can also talk to them and what they are saying about this all-important election. So let's go and let me show you where we are right now. We are at the County of Fairfax in Virginia, and this is the booth that I was talking about. This is where they have volunteers who are basically stationed all day to talk to voters who come in. And you see all these signs there, right? Mostly you look at, it says Harris and Connolly. I mean, Connolly is the guy who's running in the local district. And then you also see some Trump and Vance sign. And if you look closely, look at this sign. I mean, this is democracy at work, right? This is the Democrat booth. But then you also see Trump Vance sign right next to the booth. It says voting for Harris involves doesn't mean you're a Democrat. It means you're a patriot. It then talks about stopping Project 2025, and then behind that Harris and Kane sign, you see Trump and Vance. So this is fascinating, and there are not a lot of buzz that you'd see in an Indian election. Very quiet, very muted, but a very important election. So we'll try to go and see if we could talk to the election, or I would say the volunteer for the Democrats here. Hi, ma'am. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are
you? Just trying to understand, how does this work? So you're stationed at the booth every day, and I'm assuming you're trying to convince people to vote for Democrats?
So yeah, not every day. You just sign up online for the times you'd like to volunteer. And then yes, you just stand here and ask people if they would like a Democratic sample ballot. And if they have any questions, people can sign up to volunteer. We also sell yard signs, things like that.
But the booth is here every day. Like, there are different volunteers that come to the booth every single day.
Yes.
What are the questions that
almost every day, I'm assuming. It's my first day volunteering. So
okay. What are people saying, when they come in? Like, are they asking you questions about just, the candidates, or are they talking about issues? I mean, can you gauge who they're voting for?
So most people, when they accept the ballot, are voting for Democrats. When people say they're not, I'm not sure if they're going to take a Republican ballot or if they're just choosing not to take a ballot. But most people are saying this is an important election, and they're definitely going to vote. I've had a few people say, you'd be crazy not to vote in this election.
Okay.
So.
And let me, can you show us, if you move to this side a little bit, I want you to come to this side, and
okay.
And if you could show us what you're holding in your hand. I mean, so that's
the sample ballot that we offer to people if they would like to take it.
Okay, so this is a sample ballot that we're looking at.
Yes.
And it talks about, who should they be voting for. So, I mean, it says Kamala Harris, it says Tim Kaine, that's the senator.
Yes, that's
right?
the senator.
Then you've got Dawn.
Yes, so depending on the district you're in.
Right.
Right.
And I don't see Tim Walz's name here.
So they just have Kamala for U.S. president.
So is this how a ballot would look like when they get into to vote in the?
So the ballot looks a little bit different. It's longer, and then it will explain more of like the bonds and the constitutional amendment. It'll have a little bit more writing on it. So a ballot tends to be fairly long.
Okay, and what's how's the turnout been? Like more people coming in as we get closer to the election?
I've only been here today to volunteer, but it's been a pretty steady flow. So a few other women who have volunteered here before have said there have been more people coming in today than usual. So
Okay, okay. Thank you so much for speaking
yeah,
with us.
you're welcome.
So that was Dallas. She's a volunteer right here at in the Fairfax County Democratic booth. She's trying to convince people who come in and ask them who they're going to be voting for. And these are the voters who are strolling in.
Hi.
It's a morning.
Hi,
It's
sir. Are you
morning
here to
time,
vote?
and this is what she's doing. She's trying to
Oh,
talk to
hi. I'm
voters.
sorry. I didn't see you there. Sure, we'll take them.
And try to tell them who they
So
should be
we've
voting
had a lot
for.
of people today. So thank you for voting.
So like that, those are the interactions Dallas is having while she's stationed at duty here. Now let's go in and talk to this gentleman over here. He's sitting in the Fairfax Republicans booth here. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us.
My pleasure.
What are you picking on? I mean, why should somebody vote for Republicans versus the Democrats?
Well, there's an awful lot on the line for this election. Kamala Harris represents autocratic government. Donald Trump represents free market economy. And people just have to look at what Donald Trump did the first 4 years he was president. The economy boomed, inflation was low, employment was high, and then we got hit with COVID and everything got screwed up. But COVID's gone now. So let's get Trump back in there so he can finish what he started 4 years ago.
Okay.
If we elect Kamala Harris, I'm afraid that our country is going to be ruined.
And what are you picking from people, like when people come in to vote? Like, what are people telling you when they come to your booth versus when they're going to vote to Democrats? What are people telling you? Why are they voting for Donald Trump?
Well, they're voting for Donald Trump because they know that there's an awful lot at stake. They vote Republican because they know that the government governs least. The economy functions. There's no government intrusion in their lives. And they're afraid of the competition from Kamala, that she's going to really show her true colors. We haven't heard a thing from her the entire election about what she stands for, what she plans to do, what her policies will be, because she can't tell what they really are. No one would vote for her. So people are afraid of what will happen if she's elected.
Okay.
That's why an awful lot of people are voting for Trump.
Do you think he's got it in the bag? Do you think he's going to win?
Oh, nothing is ever in the bag. We're in Fairfax County, Virginia, which is a Democrat county. He probably won't carry Fairfax County, but we may get enough votes to put the Virginia total in the Trump column. And if that's the case, our 11 electoral votes will go a long way to making him president.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure.
So this is very interesting. What we heard from the Democrats was completely different from what we heard from Republicans here in Fairfax County. Again, nothing is certain for now. Everybody's trying to campaign and make sure that their candidate gets most of the votes. And you look at this. This is this Republican sample ballot here. It tells them who should they vote for. You see, it's highlighted already. It says Donald Trump and Mr. Torres, who's running in the 8th district, Hung Chow, who's running for Senate against Tim Kaine. And this is what the ballot internally would look like. It's just highlighted. If you're a Republican, these are the people you want to pencil in. And so this is very different from what we were looking at the Democratic booth, where they had highlighted their candidates. And when people walk in like this right now, to ask. They just ask for a sample ballot, they go in and they come out and vote. So you look at here, that's where people are checking in. Those counters right here are where people are checking in, they're showing their voter IDs. Once they do that, that's step number one. And you see this lady, she's got a ballot. That's how big of a ballot it looks like. And they could go to one of these standy cubes where they can cast their vote, or they can come out here and they can sit down and mark whoever they want to vote. And over there on that side is people actually go and cast their ballots. So it is a very, very simple process. You come in, you check in on this counter, you pencil in who you want to vote for, and you just go ahead and cast right there. Or in those are booths where you actually go and cast your vote. There were a lot of questions raised about mail-in ballots and how those ballots could be compromised, and how those mail-in ballots stole the election in 2020. We are here inside the election center to show everybody that how secure these mail-in ballots are. So let's go and show you what a mail-in ballot looks like and why it is one of the most trusted way to vote in the US elections. So right now you're looking at a sample. It's called the official absentee ballot, which is what a mail-in ballot looks like. And we'll just go ahead and try to open this. So once you go on the website and you ask them to send you a mail-in ballot or an absentee ballot, which will be dropped off in a box like this, and these boxes are set up among all the voting centers and multiple locations in the county. You basically get a mailed ballot like this, and let's try to open this. You look at on the back side, there's obviously information about this ballot, where you can go and how you could return this ballot, and it says you could do it by mail, you could do it by person, you could go into Dropbox, the one that I showed you, exactly something like that. And this is what you get in once you receive a mailer, a mail-in ballot. This is all what you get in that, and we'll just go one by one. So this is your sample ballot. This is what your ballot would look like. As we were showing earlier, this is how lengthy of a ballot it is. It's very long, and it tells you your ballot is unique to yourself. You have to give your information. There's a voting instruction, how to return your ballot. It's obviously in different languages because there are a lot of people in this county that are ethnic and they're from different countries. And then it just tells you, where you can go and track your ballot. There's a unique ID. There's a unique ID to each ballot, and this is why these mail-in ballots are secure. And you can also check status of your ballot. See, these are the QR codes you can track, and you can make sure your ballot has been received by the county officials, counting center here, and then you would also get a notification once your vote has been counted. So this is how big of a US ballot, how lengthy it is. And once you receive that, I mean, you go ahead and you mark your votes to whichever candidate you want to. And I was showing you earlier, this is exactly what would be the information on that mail-in ballot. It talks about president, member of the Senate, House of Representative that you'll be voting for. So that would all be written on this sample ballot that we were showing you right now. This one right here would have all that information written down. And once you've marked your choice and you've decided who you want to vote for, then we'll just move these instructions aside. I mean, these are again more instructions about your ballot, and if you need assistance while for voting, you can put in your name and you can give all the details. So this is all for you. And once you've voted on this ballot, once you've marked your choices, you basically get a return sampler, the return mail. And what you do is you essentially come in, you put your ballot into this, you return your ballot into this return envelope, you seal it, and you obviously put your name in multiple times, and then you seal it and you mail it back. This is where your name would be, and there's going to be a barcode right here, and this essentially gets into one of the drop box here, and it comes back to the county. Now this is a mail-in ballot box that has been set up here. It's called a drop box, and what you can do is you can either mail your ballots or you can just come to the county and just leave your ballot here in this box, in this drop box, and all the votes that would be put in here in this box will be counted on election day. And joining us right now is Xavier, who just cast his vote for the election in the US. Xavier, who did you vote for, if you want to tell us?
Kamala Harris, 100%.
So you voted for Kamala Harris. Why did you vote for her?
Well, she's a bad candidate because she been there. She been there in California. She been there too, and she been done a great job. And the reason why it's this very candidate, the other person, they a comeback. The other guy, they gave him vote for himself. That's a shame, right?
Okay, and you think her being a female, a woman, is an issue in this election?
I believe no, because she have the knowledge to drive this country to the best.
Okay, all right.
She's a smart person too. You know what I mean?
So,
And
do you think she's gonna win?
for 100%.
Okay.
I bet my friend a lot of money that she gonna win.
Okay. All right. So that's Xavier, one of the voters that we talked to and who's casted his vote. He was nice enough to talk to us and tell us that he's voted for Kamala Harris and he thinks she's going to win the election. We have another voter who just cast his ballot. Sir, your name?
Lee Jordy.
Lee Jordy. Lee, who did you vote for and why?
Kamala Harris. I am very concerned about the state of our union. I want to keep our democracy.
What would you tell people who are watching this? Why should somebody vote for Kamala Harris, or why they should not vote for Donald Trump?
Well, I think Kamala Harris is compassionate. She cares for every one of the American, every American, and I don't believe that that's what Trump believes in. I think he's in it for himself. He is in it for big business, and Kamala Harris isn't. She's a good person.
You think she's going to win?
I think she is. It's going to be tight.
It's going to be tight?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for speaking with
Yep.
us. So we're with another voter here who voted. Who did you vote for, ma'am?
I voted for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance.
And J.D. Vance. Why did you vote for Trump?
I vote for Trump because I think he's a stronger person. That the president is also the commander in chief and has the military under him, and I just don't feel comfortable with Kamala in the military. I think Trump is the one that that will keep us from getting into a lot of stuff overseas. We need to cut back, and we're in enough wars.
We are in a very blue county, kind of a blue state, maybe purple. What are the chances of Trump winning the election?
Overall, the United States, I think it's getting better. The polls have he's come up 2 or 3 points in the last week. So the vote's starting to tighten in the United States. It always does that right towards the end, but I think people are finally making a decision, and it's leaning more towards Trump.
And what issues do you think are on voters' mind in this election?
I think the biggest issue is that the cost of everything has gone up. Like they said, car insurance has gone up 700%. I mean, crazy, and all kinds of the food's high. Everything is, the gasoline is just nuts, and so people are very worried about their money isn't going very far.
Okay.
And I think the other issue is the immigration issue is huge. People are scared, that it's like an invasion, that people are just walking in and by the thousands, and they're not being vetted. They're not being checked. We don't know who they are. And little towns in America are starting to feel it. That not even border towns, they're out in the middle of Iowa. They're going, where'd these people come? It's scaring people.
So economy and immigration, you think, are the major issues?
I do think those are the major issues, and it is for me. And I think that I'm pretty
okay. So that's another voter. I think for them, the bigger issues are immigration and economy. Some of the themes that we've obviously talked about in our lead up to the coverage of this election. Another issue that usually comes up is abortion and inflation. But primarily, I think for Republican voters, it's immigration and inflation, right?
Immigration and inflation. I think those are the big ones for us. And the security of our country. And and Kamala, she simply will not answer a single question about any policy. We have no idea what she stands for.
Okay.
And Trump answers everything.
Well, okay, so that's another thing. We saw Kamala Harris doing some interviews, and she obviously could not give substantive answers to the very direct questions that were asked to her. Thank you so much for speaking with us, ma'am. Thank you. So that was our exclusive right here from one of the suburbs in Washington, D.C. This is Fairfax County. We were able to take you behind the scenes and show you how people are voting. They believe in early voting. A lot of people coming in and voting. How Democrats and Republicans are trying to convince voters when they walk in by giving them sample ballots. We took you behind the scenes to show you how voting is actually done in America. And also, we're able to show you sample ballot, mail-in ballots, and where people can go and mail those ballots in. Now, these votes will be tallied, but they won't be counted until Tuesday, November 5th, when we will know who will become the next president of the United States. This is Rohit Sharma reporting from Washington, D.C.